The ceiling lights of the National Policy Forum gleamed like a constellation over a sea of polished chairs, broadcast cameras, and restless anticipation. The crowd was elite: cabinet officials, policy strategists, journalists, and a handful of celebrities sprinkled among them. Every seat was taken. Every lens pointed toward the main stage, where one of America's most recognizable figures was about to speak. When Oprah Winfrey appeared from behind the curtain, the applause hit like a wave. She moved with the unhurried grace of a woman used to commanding rooms larger than this one. Dressed in a tailored lavender pantsuit, she exuded both power and serenity. The stage lights caught the edges of her diamond earrings as she smiled warmly to the audience. "Good evening," she began, her voice carrying that unmistakable cadence. Calm, deliberate, authoritative. "Tonight we face a question bigger than politics. We face a moral crisis in America." The hall quieted instantly. Oprah didn't need to shout. She never did. Her presence alone filled the space. Backstage, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett stood watching the monitor, her expression unreadable. Her navy suit was immaculate, her posture steady, but her eyes, sharp, focused, never left the screen. On her phone, the full transcript of Oprah's speech glowed. It was a leak, sent moments earlier by a sympathetic reporter. Crockett's jaw tightened as she read. "Representatives like Jasmine Crockett push division over dialogue," the transcript said. "They reject unity for attention." Her aide, a young press secretary named Tasha, hovered nearby. "She's naming you directly," she whispered, glancing nervously at the monitor. Crockett didn't look up. "Then she's made a mistake." The applause in the hall swelled again as Oprah walked across the stage, her tone shifting from inspiration to indictment. "Our nation is fractured," Oprah continued. "Our leaders, instead of healing wounds, deepen them." Congresswoman Crockett is one of many who stand at that crossroads, choosing rhetoric over results. A low murmur moved through the crowd. Cameras zoomed in, eager for reaction shots. On the monitor, Crockett's name appeared on the large LED backdrop behind Oprah, next to edited video clips from past hearings. Moments of her fiery congressional questioning, spliced without context. The clips were powerful but misleading. Tasha exhaled sharply. "They cut your line about health care reform. They're framing you like—" "I know," Crockett interrupted, eyes narrowing. "That's the point." At 44, Jasmine Crockett had built a career on precision. A lawyer turned legislator, known for her unflinching cross-examinations and relentless command of detail. She had been underestimated before, but never out-prepared. And tonight, Oprah Winfrey had chosen the wrong opponent for an easy public lesson on unity. Behind her, Marcus, her chief of staff, approached with a tablet. "Social media's already blowing up," he said quietly. "The Bon Oprah wisdom is trending." Her team seeded clips an hour before the speech even started. "They've been building this narrative for weeks." Crockett scanned the posts briefly. "And most of them haven't read the bill," she murmured. Then, tapping her screen, she opened the legislation Oprah was condemning. Her eyes darted across the dense legal language. There it was, the clause buried deep in the text, a funding reallocation that would cut child care subsidies for low-income families in order to finance corporate tax relief for major media conglomerates. She took a slow breath. "So this is the bipartisan bill she says I blocked." Tasha frowned. "You didn't block aid. You blocked the loophole." "Exactly," Crockett said, locking her phone. "She's not just wrong. She's dangerous when she speaks without facts." A production assistant appeared suddenly, headset pressed to her ear. "Congresswoman, you're on in 3 minutes," she said politely. "And just a reminder, please stick to the pre-approved questions during your exchange with Ms. Winfrey." Crockett's lips curved into a measured smile. "Pre-approved?" she repeated. "Of course." But her tone carried quiet steel. As the assistant hurried off, Marcus stepped closer. "They'll try to control the feed," he warned. "Our slides won't make it on screen unless someone inside switches the visuals manually." Crockett adjusted her blazer, her voice steady. "Then make sure our person's ready. The truth doesn't need permission." She glanced at her reflection in a nearby mirror, poised, unflinching. This wasn't about ego or revenge. It was about the line between influence and integrity, and what happens when that line blurs under the weight of fame. The moderator's voice echoed from the stage. "Please welcome Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett." Applause rippled, polite but cautious. Cameras pivoted. Crockett emerged from backstage into the white-hot glow of the spotlights. For a heartbeat, she and Oprah locked eyes. The billionaire icon and the rising political force. Two women who had both fought to be heard in America, now standing on opposite sides of a truth. "Congresswoman, thank you for joining us," Oprah began, her smile practiced. "I think we can agree that unity, not division, must be our shared goal." Crockett returned the smile, controlled and deliberate. "Unity built on truth, yes. Anything less isn't unity. It's convenience." The crowd stirred. The moderators exchanged uneasy glances. Oprah tilted her head slightly, as if studying a guest who wasn't following the script. "Are you saying my remarks were untruthful?" Oprah asked, her voice calm but with a hint of challenge. "I'm saying context matters," Crockett replied evenly. "You told this audience that I blocked a bipartisan bill meant to help working families. But you didn't mention the amendment that would have taken support away from 300,000 of them," the audience murmured. Oprah blinked, her poise unshaken. "Sometimes in Washington, compromise is necessary," she offered gently. Crockett's reply came sharp but composed. "Compromise shouldn't mean sacrificing those who can't afford to lose." A beat passed, tension thick, the audience frozen between admiration and disbelief. Then Crockett leaned forward slightly. "And perhaps your viewers deserve to know that your own production company stood to benefit from the same corporate tax breaks included in that amendment." Gasps rippled through the hall. Oprah's smile faltered just slightly. "I think that's an unfair characterization," she said, her voice tightening. "We're here to discuss national values, not my business." "Transparency is a national value," Crockett replied calmly, "especially when the people shaping public opinion are also profiting from the policies they endorse." The screens behind them flickered, then abruptly shifted from the planned visuals to financial documents, Harpo Productions, investment portfolios, corporate connections tied to the bill. Oprah turned toward the technical crew, confusion flashing across her face. The audience gasped again. Someone backstage had overridden the feed. Marcus whispered into his comms offstage, "Visual confirmed." "This is inappropriate," Oprah said, regaining her voice. "Congresswoman, I don't appreciate ambush tactics." "This isn't an ambush," Crockett countered softly. "It's accountability." The moderator intervened. "Perhaps we can steer the discussion back to—" "No," Crockett said, raising a hand gently. "The American people have heard enough spin. Let's have some clarity." She reached for her phone and read aloud. Section 119. Corporate Investment Incentives for Media Development. Estimated value to Harpo Productions, $247 million. A heavy silence followed. Oprah's jaw tightened, though she maintained composure. "I think you're oversimplifying a complex issue," she said. "I'm clarifying a concealed one," Crockett responded. The room buzzed. Reporters whispered to one another. Someone in the back row began live streaming. At that moment, Oprah's decades of experience kicked in. She adjusted her tone, calm, reflective, the voice millions had trusted for years. "I understand your frustration," she said, "but the point of this discussion was to rise above accusation, to find common ground." "And I agree," Crockett replied, "but common ground can't be built on falsehoods. If we start from misinformation, we end up with manipulation." The tension was no longer subtle. It was electric. Behind the scenes, Oprah's team signaled to the production director, "Cut to break." But before the feed switched, Crockett's voice cut through clearly. "Are we breaking because I presented facts?" The cameras captured it, the raised eyebrow, the stunned silence, before the screen faded to black. Backstage, chaos, Oprah's publicist barked orders into her phone. "We're not running that footage again. Do you hear me? Cut that from the replay feed." Her assistant protested. It's already live on multiple streams, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, then flag them all. DMCA everything. Across the hall, in a smaller dressing room, Jasmine Crockett sat quietly, her team buzzing around her. Tasha handed her a bottle of water. "They're going to try to spin this, you know." Crockett took a sip and smiled faintly. "Of course they will, but the footage speaks louder than any press release." Marcus entered, holding his phone. "Crockett exposes Oprah" is trending #2 worldwide. "It's already been viewed 4.6 million times." Crockett nodded, unfazed. "Then we're just getting started." A stagehand knocked on the door. "We're resuming in 5 minutes," he said, avoiding eye contact. "Perfect," Crockett said, standing. "Let's make the next 5 minutes count." The lights in the studio dimmed slightly as the commercial break countdown ticked away. Producers whispered into earpieces, technicians reset cameras, and the audience murmured with electric anticipation. Jasmine Crockett sat poised, her eyes scanning the teleprompter, though she didn't need it. Every word she was about to speak was etched into her mind. Every fact, every name. Across the stage, Oprah took a sip of water, her composure restored, but her eyes betrayed her. They flickered toward Jasmine with something between admiration and fear. "We're live in 5, a producer called out. 4, 3, the lights flared again. The red on-air sign glowed. "Welcome back," Oprah said smoothly, her voice calm but tight. Before the break, Representative Jasmine Crockett was sharing strong views about political accountability and the power of truth. "Jasmine, you were about to elaborate on your concerns regarding political transparency, especially in campaign financing. Please continue." "Thank you, Oprah," Jasmine replied. "When I first entered politics, I thought the hardest part would be fighting the opposition. I was wrong. The hardest part is fighting the system itself, a system that rewards silence and punishes truth-telling." The audience stirred. "When we talk about campaign finance reform," Jasmine continued, "people think it's just about donations. It's not. It's about influence. Who really calls the shots in Washington? And sometimes, that influence doesn't come from voters. It comes from billionaires and corporations hiding behind foundations and lobbyists." Oprah crossed her legs and smiled faintly. "You sound like you're hinting at something specific." "I'm not hinting," Jasmine said evenly. "I'm saying it outright. There are powerful figures who pretend to serve the public while serving themselves. And some of those figures have been sitting on this very stage." A murmur rippled through the audience. Oprah froze, her smile fading. "Are you accusing me of something, Congresswoman?" she asked. "I'm stating facts," Jasmine replied. "Your foundation, the Winfrey Global Initiative, has received over $50 million from entities that also funded lobbying efforts to block affordable housing initiatives. Yet, on this show, you've called yourself an advocate for the poor." Gasps broke out. Oprah's eyes hardened. "That's a serious accusation," Oprah said sharply. "And if you think you can come on my show and smear me with half-truths, you're mistaken." "Half-truths are what politics is built on," Jasmine said calmly. "I'm bringing the other half." The air thickened. Cameras zoomed in. "You've made your point," Oprah said after a long pause. "But tell me, what do you gain from this crusade? Fame? A run for higher office?" "What I gain is peace of mind," Jasmine said. "And I don't need fame. I have facts." She turned to the camera. "America deserves leaders who serve people, not brands." Applause broke out, hesitant, then thunderous. Oprah's expression softened for a moment before she spoke again. "You speak of truth," Oprah said quietly, "but truth without empathy can destroy lives. You think exposing people makes you righteous. It doesn't. It makes you ruthless. And silence makes you complicit," Jasmine replied. The line hit like a hammer. The studio went dead silent. Backstage, the control room erupted in chaos. "Do we cut?" a producer hissed into his mic. "No," the director said. "Keep rolling. Ratings are spiking." Online, hashtags exploded. Crockett vs. Oprah, truth on air. The reckoning. Oprah faced the crowd again, voice steady. "Leadership isn't about tearing others down. It's about lifting them up." "You've attacked me. You've attacked my foundation. What have you built?" "I've built trust," Jasmine said. "I've built schools where the budget said none could exist. I've built hope. And that's something money can't buy." The crowd cheered. Oprah studied her, expression unreadable. "Perhaps," Oprah said finally, "I underestimated you." "Perhaps you underestimated the truth," Jasmine replied. Oprah smiled faintly. "You know, I've hosted thousands of people, presidents, prophets. Very few have had the courage to confront power so openly." "Power doesn't intimidate me," Jasmine said. "It reminds me why I'm here." "Then tell me," Oprah asked. "What do you really want?" "I want accountability," Jasmine said. "From politicians, corporations, media, and icons like you. Because when powerful people pretend to be saviors while protecting the system, the public never learns the truth." Silence. Oprah's earpiece buzzed. "Wrap it. You're 5 minutes over." She ignored it. "So if the truth hurts," Oprah said, "even if it costs reputations and careers, it's worth it?" "Integrity is priceless," Jasmine said. "If the truth burns everything down, maybe it's time to rebuild." Applause thundered again. The crowd rose to its feet, chanting her name. Oprah stood, forced a graceful smile, and turned to the camera. "Whatever your views," she said, "democracy only works when we dare to speak and dare to listen." Congresswoman Crockett, thank you for reminding us of that. "Thank you for giving the truth a microphone," Jasmine said. They shook hands, firm, layered with respect and warning. The lights dimmed. The show cut to credits. The real drama was only beginning. Backstage, assistants swarmed Oprah as she exited the stage, jaw tight, ignoring the noise. Behind her, Jasmine removed her mic, smiling faintly as her aides surrounded her. "Ma'am, you just made history," one whispered. "No," Jasmine said. "I just told the truth." Her phone buzzed. Hundreds of messages, thousands of mentions, every network calling. She glanced at the screen, sighed, and pocketed it. The rest is up to them. In a quiet corridor, Oprah stopped walking. She looked out at the city lights, glittering like scattered memories. For a brief second, doubt flickered across her face. Gail appeared behind her. "You okay?" "She didn't come to humiliate me," Oprah said softly. "She came to wake me up." "She came for exposure," Gail said. Oprah turned to her. "Maybe, but she wasn't wrong." They stood in silence. The next morning, every headline screamed the same story. Jasmine Crockett confronts Oprah. The interview that shook Washington. Truth versus power. News anchors replayed the confrontation on loop. Social media caught fire. Jasmine appeared on Good Morning America. Calm, steady, relentless. "I don't hate Oprah," she said. "I respect her. But respect doesn't mean silence. If we believe in democracy, no one is beyond question, not even our heroes." That clip hit 50 million views within a day. A week later, Jasmine walked through the marble halls of Congress. Reporters followed her every step. "Do you regret your comments? Have you spoken to Oprah? Are you running for president?" She smiled faintly but didn't answer. Her aide whispered, "It's getting bigger than we expected." "Good," she said. "That's the point." At her estate, Oprah sat by the fireplace, tablet in hand, re-watching the interview. Jasmine's words echoed differently now. Not as an attack, but a challenge. She sighed, murmuring, "Maybe it's time to do something real again." Her phone buzzed. A text from Jasmine. No hard feelings, just truth. Oprah smiled and typed back, "Truth it is." She looked toward the window. The dawn light broke across the horizon. Bright, relentless, honest. Fade out.